Hi guys, it's Mary McIntyre. Welcome to the channel that gets woefully neglected for most of the year until we get to Halloween. Now last year I made some spell books and there was something that I'd wanted to make all the way through last autumn, but I ended up making them with literally 24 hours to spare before Halloween. So I did kind of rush them and I wanted to make some more this year. So the first thing I did, I went to the charity shop and I picked up 3 for £1 of these big autobiographies. They're quite chunky, so I think they'd make a really good spell book. So basically we'll throw the covers of those away. If you have an issue with destroying books, then you can do the covers but not actually paint the pages, so you can still then read the book. I've deliberately bought them from charity shops rather than brand new, but you know, they're probably been read and loved by somebody. The other thing that I've done is I've painted some glass cabochons with dragon eyes. I've done these in a sort of blue and purple. They're not stuck back into the mounts yet because I haven't fully decided how they're going to go, but they're basically going to go on one of the books, the big eye on the cover and the small eye on one of the spines. And I think for the most part of that, it'll be vaguely inspired by a kind of leather cover that you see on the book from, is it Bewitched? Spellbound? I can't remember. Hocus Pocus. Sorry, my brain's not working. So yeah, there's a book in the film Hocus Pocus, and that has been done to death on YouTube, so I don't want to make an exact copy of that, but a lot of the things that I'm going to do will be inspired by that. You'll need some kitchen roll and some PVA glue and just water it down a little bit, and then when you glue the kitchen paper onto the book, it will kind of give that leather effect when it dries. It looks rubbish when you first do it, but when you paint it, just stick with it. Also, trusty glue gun, because you can create lots of features and kind of three-dimensional writing and stitch marks if you're going to kind of have that effect of leather stitched together. But I've also got some plastic bats, some plastic snakes, and horrendous bag just full of spiders. When I ordered these, I ordered 2 quantities of spiders because I want to use them on my potion bottles as well, and I opened the envelope and they were just loose in the envelope, and honestly my heart was just like, oh god, they look so real. So I've got a few of those as well, which I will glue on. So I haven't got a complete plan for each of these 3 books, but we'll just go along with it and wing it and see how they turn out. So if you enjoy this sort of video, please hit the like button. I'm going to be doing some more potion bottles this year as well, which will be on my channel, and I'm also going to be doing a video planning my Halloween outfit. So enjoy the video and I'll talk to you later. Okay, so I'm about to start covering the backs of these books. First of all, I've put cling film around the pages to protect them. And that's partly because I'm going to paint the pages and I want them to not be soggy and covered in glue. If you want to read the book after you've done this, then you can just take that cling film off and leave it as it is. I've taken the wrap jackets off them, and all I'm going to do first of all is just use PVA glue with a 1/3 part water added to it, which is essentially all that Mod Podge is. And I've taken the sheets of kitchen paper and torn them so that they're in single ply. So I'm just going to glue these on the backs. I'm keeping the backs pretty plain, but I'm going to let that get on there, start to dry, and then we'll work on the front of the book. Remember, you want this to be wrinkly, you don't want it to be perfect, because that is what's going to give the kind of old leather look to the book once it's all glued on. Once you stick each layer on, just go over it with a little bit more of the glue mixture. realised it was easier if you stuck the tissue to the spine first and trimmed around the kind of the pages there. Okay, that's the backs of all of them done. So I'm just going to leave those to dry a little bit so that I can work on the front without them sticking to my mat. Okay, so on the first book I have decided I'm going to use one of the hot glue skulls that I made the other day, and using also some plastic snakes. I've arranged them so that they're kind of going behind the skull, so some of them I've cut in half so that makes them a little bit longer. The colours are really plasticky and rubbish at the moment, but that's fine because that's all going to get covered over in a minute when we cover it with paper. So first of all, I'm just going to hot glue all of this stuff down, and then I can get going with another layer of kitchen roll. That's how it looks before I put the paper over it. For the corners of one of my books, I wanted some of the little corner pieces that are, kind of look like they're made of metal, so I've basically cut out some shapes, 4 identical corner shapes using craft sheet, just craft foam, and I'm just basically using a bit of metallic bronze acrylic paint, and I'm just going to paint them so that they're no longer black foam sheets. Okay, I've got some black acrylic paint which I've added a tiny bit of water to just make it a little bit more fluid, and I'm going to use a sponge. I don't have any of the latex brushes, the disposable ones, so I'm just using a bit of an old bath sponge, and I'm just going to kind of rub over all of these features. I'm going to go in and dry brush with some metallics afterwards, so at this point I'm just looking for a coat of black. Nothing more, just trying to make sure there's no white kitchen towel showing through. So I'm doing circular motions and stamping and stippling just to try and get in between all of the features. The other 2 books don't have any of their features on the front yet, so they'll be a bit quicker to do, but for this one I just want to try and get in and get all of these little details covered. So that's the black paint finished, so you can see how the kitchen towel really gives that lovely texture. I'm loving this. This is going to look amazing once I dry brush it. Those snakes just worked out really cool, and you can see that having the tissue over the top of the skull, although it's taken away some of the fine detail, it's actually really good, and it means that all the black is the same across the whole book. Okay, I'm going to do the dry brushing now, and from I'm going to do 2 layers of this. The first one is a darker colour, which is metallic bronze, and the second one is a metallic gold. That is very bright and yellow, so I'm going to use that extremely sparingly just to get the really high relief parts. I'm using a sponge and I'm going to tap off the majority of it onto my silicone mat, and then just gently, really gently, just brush over. Actually, I'll tap it in the palette and I can go back into it then. So just barely touching, just kind of rubbing over everything, and all of the ridges and texture will then get highlighted. It's just such an amazing technique. You barely use any paint at all. I mean, the tiniest dab, and I wiped most of it off on my palette. I mean, you can kind of rub a bit harder in places. You're not looking for an even coat here. You want it to be messy and uneven. This looks so amazing. I'm just going to use the same sponge and dab into the gold. I'm going to really tap off all the excess so that there's barely anything touching. So I just want to hit some of the features on the skull and some of the texture on the snakes. That's where I'm focusing this brighter gold. Again, barely any paint on the sponge, but the kind of sticky up bits, technical term, that catches the paint as you go over. You could just actually get a brush and paint the snakes, but I think with dry brushing you get so much more depth, because the first pass round you're pushing a bit harder, so it kind of gets into some of the lower lying bits, and then when you go around again with a lighter hand you're just picking up the really high parts, and that just gives it so much texture. I think that looks super cool. It doesn't need anything else doing to it on the rest of the book now. That's awesome. I will paint the pages on all of these, but in terms of finishing that one, that's all that's needed. That is so great. I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to go off camera and dry brush the other 2. You've seen me do 1, you don't need to see me do all 3. Okay, I'm going to paint the sides of the pages so that it looks like one of those old books that's got foil edges on the pages. I've got the cling film covering the bit of the cover that overhangs so that I don't inadvertently paint gold when it should be black. So I'm just using my gold acrylic paint dulled down with a little bit of the antique bronze so that it's not too bright a gold shade, because I want it to look antique and dirty the way that those really old books with the metallic pages look when they're really old. So, and this is so easy, you just have a flat brush. You need a lot of paint because obviously there's a lot of paper here that you're painting, but you just paint along and just make sure that you've got all of the edges. And when it's dry, you look at it from the side and it's got that beautiful shine. Now this will probably glue the pages together, so if you're doing this to a book that you want to read in the future, skip this step. So this is the book that's got the hand-painted dragon eye cabochons on it. So these are the ones I showed you at the beginning, the kind of purple and blue dragon eyes. I decided that I wanted to do a kind of steampunk cogs sort of theme for this one. So I've laid everything out the way that I want to have it. I want to kind of feel as though these cogs in some way would turn a mechanism and this eye would rotate and let you open the book. I'm not gone to the trouble of seeing if these cogs actually would turn, but you know, it is just decorative. a bit of a brainwave for the names on the spines of two of my books. Last year's hot glue writing kind of looked a bit sucky. I really wasn't very good at it. But I just thought if I paint some craft foam sheets and kind of distress them so they look like the book covers, and then just use ye old Cuttlebug, the machine I love but hardly ever use, and I've got the alphabet cutting die there, so I had to do 2 lots of silver to get the 2 A's for my spider book, and for the one with the snakes, that's going to be the venom one, I just needed 1 set of gold. So I'm now the proud owner of many coloured metallic letters, which I'm sure will come in useful for something, but really good to put the Cuttlebug to use. I didn't know you could use it to chop up letters out of craft foam, so that's really good to know. Okay, so I've laid the letters out. I think they look really good. I'm surprised actually. I thought they might look a bit kind of obviously craft foam painted with paint, but they're okay. I'm going to use PVA glue, fast drying PVA, simply because there is no chance at all that I'm going to be able to get hot glue onto such tiny letters without making a horrible mess. So I'm just going to have to painstakingly do this and hope they stick. And basically it's just craft foam sticking onto kitchen paper, so it should be fine. It just might take a little while to dry. This is the fast dry stuff, which is pretty good, but it hopefully will be alright. I'm obviously not going to get these completely straight, and that's fine. With my shaky hands, and I can't even get this glue on without wobbling, so this is really hard for me to do. This is the problem I have with these trimmers. I just keep dropping small things. I can't keep a grip on anything like tweezers for very long. Okay, that's good. This little badge is one of my little hot glue badges. I'll show you how I make these in my potion bottles video, but really easy to make. I've dry brushed this in the same colours, and I'm gonna, it's a little skull and crossbones one. I'm going to stick that on with hot glue because that is made of hot glue and I know that it'll stick better. And I'm also going to hot glue my spiders onto this other book once I've got the letters on. So I'm going to stop the video, concentrate on getting those letters on, and then I'll start recording again when it's spider sticking on time. Okay, glue gun ready to go. First of all, let's get this badge on. Go, move that guy out of the way. So now on to the spider book. Just move that in shot. So I was today years old when I found out you can iron leather. I've got a huge bag of leather scraps and they've just been crumpled up in a bag for absolutely years. And I've looked online to see if there's anything I could do. And if you wet the back of the leather and then iron it, all the creases come out. And it turned out really cool. So I've now got lots of flat leather, which will invariably end up crumpled again when I put it away, but it's good to know that you can straighten that out. So my plan for this is fairly simple, just basically glue a load of spiders on the front, but I want one kind of covering the strap there, so it kind of looks like the spider is guarding the book. Now all of these spiders have, I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but they've all got like a central kind of spike, obviously where they've been cast out of plastic or off the spree or something like that. So all of them, if I put a fairly large blob of glue, then that central spike will sit in the glue. So I need to put a fairly big blob, as I said, but hopefully that will mean the spiders sort of stay put if I've got something to stick to. so the letters need to dry. I'll let the spiders set and see if they stay in place. Hopefully they will. I can see the little central spike is touching glue in all cases, so hopefully that will work. So stay tuned for the final finished result. So here are the finished books. I could not be happier with how these have come out. I really love the skull and snakes, and the pages on this have been painted gold, which shine really beautifully in the light. Just a simple kind of title on the spine and the skull and crossbones badge. They all look really, really cool. I'm so pleased with that one. I love my little steampunk dragon eye one. I like to think of all of these as being a complex locking mechanism, and that if you know the right way of opening it, then this dragon eye will lift up and you can get in. I feel like this one would have no title because it's a kind of, if you know the knowledge, you know it, and that's only the people with the knowledge can get into this one. I painted the pages on this one a kind of copper colour, and they are absolutely beautiful, especially with the green leather strap there. And finally we have the really simple but effective spider book, and the pages on this one are silver. Quite hard to see on camera, but they shine really beautifully. Again, very simple, just arachnids written as the title there. A hella huge number of spiders on the front's a bit of a clue as to what it is. So yeah, they're really cool. So let me know which your favourite one is in the comments below, and stay tuned because we've got potion bottles coming up, as well as a tutorial on how I made my Halloween costume this year. Stay tuned, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Bye for now.